All right, let's talk about building on Azure. And I don't mean just spinning up a few servers here and there. I mean building a real enterprise-grade foundation, something that's structured, scalable, and actually built to last. So let's get into the biggest challenge.
You know, this is the question, isn't it? Anyone can click a button and get a virtual machine running in minutes. That's the easy part. But creating an entire environment that's secure, well-governed, and actually ready for your business to grow on? Whoa, that is a completely different beast. So, where do you even begin?
You start with a plan, just like building a house. In this explainer, we're going to walk through the 5 essential building blocks for a rock-solid enterprise cloud. We'll start with the overall blueprint, then we'll lay down the networking foundation, frame out the compute structure, install a truly modern security system, and then wrap up with the intelligent operations that keep the whole thing running smoothly.
First things first, the modern cloud blueprint. You would not start building a skyscraper by just pouring some concrete and hoping for the best, right? No way. You start with a detailed architectural plan that thinks about everything from the ground up.
In the world of Azure, that master plan has a name. It's called a landing zone. And listen, this is not just some template you download. It's a prescriptive, best practices approach that comes straight from Microsoft's Cloud Adoption Framework. Think of it as the official, expert-approved blueprint for your entire Azure estate. It's designed specifically to help you avoid common mistakes and make sure that everything you build from day one is secure and ready to scale.
And this really shows you just how comprehensive that blueprint is. A landing zone isn't just about virtual machines and networks. It actually forces you to make critical, upfront decisions across these 8 key areas. We're talking everything from how you'll handle billing and identity, to how you'll organize your subscriptions, which, by the way, are basically just the core accounts for all your resources, and how you'll automate everything. Getting this stuff right from the very beginning, that is the absolute key to being able to scale without chaos.
Okay, so we've got our blueprint. Now it's time to actually break ground. And in the cloud, that first, most critical layer of the foundation is always the network.
So the gold standard for enterprise networking on Azure is this hub-and-spoke model. It's such a beautifully simple idea, but it's incredibly effective. The hub is your central point of control. It's where all your shared services live, like firewalls and gateways. Then you have the spokes. That's where your individual applications or departments live, and they're all neatly isolated from each other. The key is, all traffic has to flow through the hub, which gives you one single, powerful place to enforce security rules and manage all your connectivity.
Now, what's really cool is how you can customize the security of that central hub. You've got different versions, or SKUs, of the Azure Firewall to pick from. The standard version gets you critical features like threat intelligence, but if you've got really sensitive stuff, the premium SKU adds some serious firepower, like TLS inspection, which basically lets the firewall peek inside encrypted traffic to hunt for threats, and a full-blown intrusion detection and prevention system, or IDPS.
And just look at the performance difference here. It is staggering. Basic is fine for a tiny test lab, but look at that jump. Standard gives you 30 gigabits per second, and Premium goes all the way up to a massive 100 gigabits per second. So here's the key takeaway. This choice isn't just about security features. Your choice of firewall directly sets the performance ceiling for your entire architecture. That's a huge decision.
All right, our foundation is poured and solid. Now it's time to actually frame the structure. We're moving up the stack to the compute services, the virtual machines and scale sets, where your applications are actually going to live and run.
1,000. That's how many virtual machine instances you can scale up to inside a single virtual machine scale set using the modern flexible orchestration mode. We are not talking about a handful of servers here. We're talking about building for massive, dynamic web-scale workloads with the power to automatically add or remove machines based on real-time needs, like CPU load.
Now, just as important as scale is resilience, keeping things running. And Azure's whole approach here has really evolved. Way back in 2010, it was all about paired regions, which is that classic primary site, backup site, disaster recovery model. But then in 2018, availability zones completely changed the game. They gave us high availability within a single region by using physically separate data centers. So today, designing for resilience across availability zones first is the new standard. It often gives you better protection with way less complexity than a big multi-region setup.
A modern building needs a modern security system, so you can forget that old model of building a big, strong wall around everything and trusting everything on the inside. The modern approach is called Zero Trust, and it starts with a simple, and honestly kind of scary assumption. You've already been breached.
So Zero Trust really stands on 3 core pillars.
First, you verify explicitly. You authenticate and authorize every single request based on every data point you have. Who's the user? Where are they? What's the health of their device? You name it. Second, you use least privilege access. This means you give people only the access they absolutely need for only as long as they need it. And third, you assume breach. You segment your network, you encrypt everything, and you use analytics to constantly hunt for threats already inside.
This quote just nails the whole mindset. In a zero-trust world, there is no internal network anymore. There is no trusted zone. Every single request, it doesn't matter if it's coming from your corporate headquarters or from a coffee shop on the other side of the world, it has to be treated with the exact same level of suspicion.
Okay, so we've built our structure, we've secured it. Now for the final piece, the building management system. How in the world do we monitor this complex, enterprise-scale beast to make sure it's healthy and performing the way it's supposed to?
I mean, seriously, with potentially thousands of machines and services all generating millions of data points every minute, you can't just stare at a dashboard and wait for a line to turn red. That's just not going to work. How do you find that one tiny needle in a continent-sized haystack? Well, the answer is you use intelligence. Instead of you hunting for problems, you use the power of the Kusto Query Language, or KQL, right inside Azure Monitor. It has these incredible built-in machine learning functions that can analyze tons of data over time and automatically tell you when it spots an anomaly, a significant blip that's different from the normal baseline. This way, your team can stop hunting and start fixing what actually matters.
So there you have it. We've laid out the entire blueprint for a truly robust enterprise cloud, all the way from the master plan of a landing zone to the intelligent operations that keep it all humming along. The framework is there, and it's built on years of best practices from thousands of customers. The only question left is, what are you going to build with it?